we're going to announce the winner. The winner of the consultation with Lindsay is whoever's the most engaged. So if you have any questions and you ask those, I'll be listening. I'll make notes of that, and then whoever's the most engaged at the end, we're going to give an award to. And that's a free consultation with Lindsay. She'll go into the back end of your store, answer all your questions, help make optimizations that are going to help your store be more successful. And there's a few other things we'll talk about at the end of the presentation that we're going to give away. So we have over 100 people, I believe, who have filled out the poll. So that's great. So thank you, everyone, for that. I'm going to close the poll now. And so basically, we're looking at what's your biggest marketing challenge, and 65% say increasing organic traffic, which is perfect. You're in the right place. That's what Lindsay's going to talk about for the next hour. So that's it for me. Lindsay, thank you, and I'm going to go listen in.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. So can everyone hear me okay? All right. If you guys can hear me, just give like a thumbs up or something like that, just so let me know. Alrighty. So we'll get started. I'm assuming someone will run in here if no one can hear me properly. So we'll dive right in. So as you guys know, this is Shopify SEO 101. So for some of our attendees, we'll have some people here that you don't have a Shopify store. Maybe they're on a different e-commerce platform. If that is the case, we're still in the right place, so no worries about that. A lot of the fundamentals of SEO are going to overlap. So everything we're going through today can apply to your store, whether you are a Shopify store, e-commerce business, or even just a local shop. Just to give you guys a heads up, I will probably drink water throughout this, so bear with me if I do pause. So as Derek said, my name is Lindsay Kavanagh. My Twitter handle is there. If you guys want to shoot me a follow on there. I'm a digital marketing coordinator here at seoplus. Formerly an SEO specialist, and I originally entered in this line of work as a web designer and developer. I'm Google certified, and as Derek mentioned, we are Shopify marketing experts. My email is there below if you guys ever want to get in touch with me, if you have any questions, anything like that. Really good to connect with me as well is on LinkedIn. All right, so just a reminder for the webinar. I packed this with a ton of info, so be sure to take notes, ask questions. This is going to be jam-packed. There's going to be a ton of stuff that we're going to go through, a ton of stuff going on, so feel free to pause and take notes as needed. So we'll get started. So the agenda on deck today, we're going to go over why SEO should matter to your business. I'm also going to talk about the algorithm in 2017, so how it's changed from the early 2000s, and how you should adapt your SEO tactics accordingly. I'm also going to talk about page titles and meta descriptions. We're going to go through products, page content, blogs, website speed, user experience, backlinks. I'll talk a little bit about RankBrain at the end. And then the most important thing for you guys on the webinar today is how you can measure your SEO success. So when you're putting in all this time and effort and work into growing your online presence, you guys need to be able to tell, is this paying dividends? Is this worth the time and effort? And really figure out if there is ROI. For all the hard work that you guys are going to put in. And then at the end, as Derek said, we're going to be doing a Q&A period. Person with the best questions, the most engaged users is going to get a free 1-hour consultation or coaching session with me. So be sure to fill the chat box as we go along with comments and questions, and hopefully you guys will be able to get the session and we'll be able to chat more about your business and how we can work on growing it. So to get us started, why should your business care about SEO? So I put the stat right on the slide here. 89% of consumers are going to be using search engines to inform purchase decisions. So what does this mean for you as a business owner? Well, this pretty much means that there's a ton of people going in the search engine to search for your product or service. That's going to be an untapped opportunity for you if you're not ranking. So it's huge. Like, these are people from, whether you're selling internationally or nationally, this is a huge untapped market for you. SEO can also help raise your bottom line. It's a long-term, stable way for you to be able to grow your business. If you get SEO right and you have a really effective website that's going to rank and perform well, it's going to be a long-term way for you to be at the top and continue to reach new people. Because if you think about it, every year around, even holiday season, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, there is thousands of people like scaling the internet trying to find your product or service. And if you're at the top, that's going to generate a ton of sales for you, which is going to grow your business in the long run. It's cost effective. Again, you have to make sure that you are working with a business that is, or you yourself are able to measure how effective the SEO is. You need to know if it's working or not, and if it is generating ROI. But if it is, it's very cost effective. And at the end of the day, who doesn't want to be number one, right? Being number one on Google is probably everyone's goal. Beating your competitors and being at the top of the search engine results is the dream. So I definitely, for me personally, if I was a business owner, I'd want to be ahead of all my competitors. So SEO in 2017. So if you want to be number one, there's new focuses now. The algorithm, which I'll get into, is really focused on users now, focusing on what sites are really helping users fulfill their needs. So when a user goes into Google and searches something, they're looking for an answer. And whatever sites are answering those questions or queries that people are putting into that box are the people that are going to rank the best. So this ties a bit into user experience, making sure your website is catered to conversion. So that's where we touch on conversion rate optimization. Content is huge as well. Having well-written original content on your website is a big hitter for performing well in SEO. Backlinks, those were super important back in the day, and they still are, and I'll get into a little bit more on how the backlink strategy has changed over time. And I'll also talk about RankBrain. The Google team and Google Hangouts have said RankBrain is the third biggest ranking factor. So I'll talk a bit about how that affects you as a business and how you can optimize your site for that. And again, at the end of the day, you don't want to forget about the basics. So even though the algorithm is constantly changing and adjusting, you don't want to forget about your page titles and your meta descriptions and the speed of your website. It's a lot to get caught up in your conversion rate optimization and writing good content, but you still need to remember the basic fundamentals of SEO. So for anyone on here that knows SEO, I'm here to tell you the days of keyword stuffing are over. The days of counting the amount of times your keyword appears on the page is over. And I know that's probably a little mind-blowing for some people, but that is the case now. So we're going to jump into the basics. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So page titles and meta descriptions. So to get started, what are they? The page title is that blue line of text right there. It is the main indicator for bots and users to know what they're going to see on your site. The meta description is that sentence or two below. That is a small line of text where you can tell users what they're about to see on your page. So in terms of best practices, your page title, the strategy we use here is that you have your primary and your secondary keyword in the title and then your brand name on the end. To touch on sort of keyword usage, if you are selling cars, for example, and you're selling red, blue, yellow, and orange cars, which all sound beautiful, you don't need to write that, red car dash blue car dash yellow car. You can write red, blue, yellow cars, and then your brand name. The bots are now a lot more intelligent, and they can pick up on the way you're using keywords and figure out what exactly your site is about. One thing to note as well with your page title is that you want to make sure that the page title matches what's going to be on the page. So when you're mapping out all the keywords that you want to rank #1 for, you need to make sure that you write the proper page title and the keyword in the page title matches what's on the page. So if my home page is all about yellow cars, but my page title is targeting green cars, when users click through to that page, they're probably going to bounce off your site, which again is a negative signal for bots. You want to make sure that people are fulfilling their search needs when they enter onto your site. So it's something to keep in mind. If you have a keyword that you really want to insert on a page, but you don't have the page for it, then you need to create more content, develop a new page, expand your website, and that'll help your SEO strategy as a whole. The page title does have a limit of 50 to 60 characters, and Shopify does make sure that you've stayed within that limit. So that's something to keep in mind as well, but these are just the general practices. So your meta description. So this is, as I said, the line of text below your page title, and the main purpose that we use it for is a call to action. When someone's searching something online, they have a page full of results. They have hundreds of thousands of results to choose from. Your meta description is that space to entice users to click to your website over your competitors. So ways you can do this is presenting a call to action, a sale. You can talk about your unique selling point. This is the space to make sure that users click to your site over others. So if your website's ranking #4 in the search results, but then everyone's clicking to your site because you have an effective page title and meta description, again, that's a positive ranking signal for you, and your site's going to rank better over your competitors. So one thing I do recommend is, searching the keywords you want to rank for and seeing what your competitors are, what they're doing online. Here's a pro tip. Add review widgets to your products to get the stars to show in the search results. So this is something that a lot of companies don't do. You can use review widgets or apps like Yotpo and just the Shopify reviews. If you add those to your product pages, you can get those review stars to show up in the search results. And what this does is it draws users' eyes to your site and typically helps your click-through rate. So again, same scenario as before, if your site's ranking at the bottom of page 1, but users are clicking your site because you have the review stars, that's going to be a positive ranking signal, and it's going to help your site as a whole. So I definitely recommend making sure you have some sort of review star widget on your app on your site so that you can generate those reviews and have it show in the search results. For your page title and meta description, now this is a little bit basic, but it's a common issue I've seen. When you guys are adding your home page title and meta description, a lot of your themes support a home page as an actual page. So if you guys click to your online store and then pages, you'll probably see your home page listed there. That is not where you put the page title and meta description for your home page. To get there, you need to click online store and then click preferences, and that's where you can write out your homepage title and meta description. This is a common issue with Shopify stores that I've seen. So after you guys implement your page title and meta description as well, don't be afraid to search the page online and see what it's pulling up as, just to double check that your hard work has been implemented properly. So where else should you put page titles and meta descriptions? Simply everywhere. Your collection pages, your normal pages, your products, your blogs. Every page on your site needs to have a page title and meta description for you to run an effective SEO campaign. If you guys already have a website, so you've already run a Shopify store, you've written page titles and meta descriptions, but you have hundreds of products and pages and you're not really sure what is missing a page title and meta, you can download this free tool called Screaming Frog SEO Spider. It lets you scan, I believe, up to 500 pages for free. And when you run the scan on your site, so for this one I just scanned seoplus, you can then filter the results. So from here I clicked page titles and then I filtered it so it showed me all the duplicates. You can also filter it to show you pages that are missing them, some that are too long, some that are too short. And this is also, you can do the same for your meta description. Check and see which pages are too long, too short, missing, duplicate, and this will help you narrow down the work you need to do. You can also export these scans as Excel sheets. so that you can easily adjust and see the URL and make changes from there. So I'm sure you're all thinking that this is a little bit basic. Lindsay, I know what page titles and meta descriptions are. You have 40 minutes, like blow my mind here, come on. We'll get into that in the later or the last bit of this presentation, but it is really important to remember that your page title and meta description, though as basic as they appear, they're very important for SEO. Typically when we make this change for clients, we'll see a brief spike or a jump up in rankings, which shows how effective they are. So now we're going to talk about products. I'm sure you all have products if you have an online store. So I'm just going to go through the fundamentals of what's in a product, what makes it up, and what's important for SEO and what to make sure you have. So first off, your title. There's no need to keyword stuff the title of your product. You don't need to make sure you have the word car written 12 times in it. Write what makes sense for your business, what makes sense for your users. When you look at a product, the name of it needs to make sense for the people that you're targeting. So if you know that you have teenagers between the ages of 15 and 25 visiting your website, make sure that the title makes sense for them. If those people can't get your site, can't understand what the title is, then it's not going to help your SEO, and it's obviously not going to help your business either. Product description. My content team is going to be super excited when I talk about this. It's a really common issue for people to write or copy, the product description from the manufacturer. It's also really common for them to copy paste the same product description across their entire site. So if you sell a line of t-shirts, it's more common than not that they just copy paste the t-shirt description and put it across every product. Whether you're copying it from the manufacturer or copying it on your site, it's duplicate content. This is not helpful to SEO. You're not going to rank well if your site is covered in duplicate content. For a product description, I recommend that you write at least 300, if not 400 words of original writings that describe what your product is. This is not also good from a marketing perspective, but it's good from an SEO perspective. Original content performs well. And it may be difficult to write a product description, but it's something that's very necessary in order for your SEO to perform well. If you can't write 300 or 400 words, write as much as you can that makes sense. You just still need to make sure you're adding value to the users that are on your site. So if you're just babbling on in lorem ipsum type thing, it's not going to add value. So again, write as much content that makes sense for your users. For your product images, now this has a couple aspects. So there's a technical aspect of having an alt tag on your image, and you guys will see this option when you're in Shopify. The purpose of the alt tag is for people with any sort of visual impairment that it's using a screen reader to have the image described to them. This is a space where people historically have inserted keywords, and keywords stuff the images. My philosophy with it is that you should make the alt tag as authentic and real as possible so that someone with a screen reader can actually have the image described to them. And if you're thinking, well, Lindsay, like people with screen readers don't visit my site, no problem. Just follow it as a best practice. Describe what the image is, and you'd be surprised at how many times keywords actually get inserted into an alt tag when you're actually writing what it's about. Another point with images is that your images need to be effective in selling your product. So again, it's all boiling back to users. If you have low quality images or images that are blurry or dark or they don't really make sense, users are not going to respond well to your site. So when you look at your product on your live website, you need to think, if this is the #1 result in Google, are users going to buy this? Is this something that people are going to click through on my site, shop around? Are they going to buy it? Are they going to add it to their cart? Because again, if you're ranking #1 but you're not confident in your product images to be able to sell your product, it's definitely worth the investment to get a professional to take pictures or for you to take the time to take your own images. Again, it helps with user metrics in terms of them interacting with your website, and then it also helps with you being able to sell your product in general. Product tags. So this is something that you can use to filter your products on your site. You can also use it to filter products in specific collections. So if you want to have a new collection, you can set it up so that any product with the tag new gets automatically added into that collection. Now, tags are helpful for SEO. So it's not bad to add a few to your products, but at the end of the day, it needs to be used for your own internal uses. And if you have some sort of tagging system on the front end of your site where users are visiting, use the tags accordingly to help you do that. For collections, we'll get into that a little bit more after, but every product you add to a collection gets given a bit of authority. So again, when you're building up products and figuring out what collections, I would definitely make sure you have a product, each of your products, is in a specific collection at least once, just so that you have a way of your products to be found. Typically, collection pages rank better than individual products, so it's just something to keep in mind. And as I said before, your page title and meta description are very important. So we're going to talk about collection pages now. This is something that I think gets missed a lot as well. When you're making a product or making a collection, you need to add products that make sense. So if I'm looking at the accessory collection on H&M and I start seeing t-shirts, I'm probably going to bounce off the page because I don't understand what's happening. So you need to make sure that every product that you add to a collection makes sense to your users. If you're making a fall collection and you have bikinis in your fall collection, it's probably not going to make sense to users, and again, they're probably going to leave your site or be super confused. The title of your collection also needs to make sense. I know it's popular for people to have very unique names for their collections, and that's no problem, but again, you need to cater your work to the general masses. If someone is on your site and they see the collection name, they need to have an idea of what's going to be inside of it. A filter system, and yes, there are apps for that, to help people filter through. If you have hundreds of products, adding a filtering system helps users through your site, and it's going to encourage people to buy. And then finally, content. So this is one that not a lot of sites have. So if we're looking at the H&M site right here, there's only a couple sentences of content at the top there. For you, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur running an online store and looking to grow your online presence, I recommend again that you write 300 to 400 words of original content for your collection pages, if not more. The way you can do it, because I know it makes sense or doesn't make sense from the aspect that, okay, if I have 500 words written, no one's going to see my products when they land on the page. They're just going to see a wall of text. There's ways that you can customize your themes, that you have some content at the top and the rest of it at the bottom. So for the most part, it is catered towards bots seeing fresh content on your site. But if a user does get to the bottom of the page and they see your content, it's also, again, a value add for them. The main focus with your products in your collection needs to be that users think your stuff is irresistible. You want them to land on your collection pages and your products and be, shut up and take my money. At the end of the day, again, for long-term success in SEO, you need to cater everything to your users. If you follow all the best practices, add your page titles and your metas, add content, but your pictures suck or your site doesn't make any sense, users aren't going to be able to buy from you and they're not going to convert, which then obviously turns into bad SEO signals and a bad business for you. So page content, I think I said the word content like 300 times at this point, but what to write about. So these are pages like your About Us page, your contact page, anything along those lines. Again, writing 400 plus words of original content, and again, the main purpose is to add value to your site. When someone clicks on that page, you need to add value by writing. Something that we've seen that works really well is creating videos. If you want to make a video vlog, like if someone made this webinar a blog post, it would be a very long blog post, but it probably is going to create really good content. So don't be afraid to transcribe videos, or if you have a business owner or a partner who's really good at talking about your business, just record them and then transcribe it, and it's going to create really great content for your site. You need to make your pages visually appealing and enticing for users to look at. So a lot of the times we see pages like About Us and Contact and stuff like that, they get lost in the shuffle. The product pages get all the attention, but business owners aren't paying attention to those inner pages. For your site to perform well, they need to be visually appealing to look at and guide users through your site. If your page looks like this, it's probably not going to encourage users to buy from you, and it's also not catered towards conversions. I'm also not really sure what this site is about, but it's probably one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. But you want something that's going to make users stay on your site. Granted, I did stay on this page for a solid 5 minutes in confusion. We still want to make sure that it makes sense. So you don't want this, you want something like this. You know, beautiful imagery, spaced out content. You see there's a small arrow in the middle guiding users down the page. This is the way to make sure users flow through your site accordingly. Every single aspect of your online store needs to get time and attention for your SEO as a whole to be successful. So I'm just going to go through some tools that we use here to ensure that your content writing is up to par. So the first one is Copyscape. This one is an online tool that you use to scan individual pages on your website to ensure that the content is not plagiarized from an external source. I wrote here very picky. I have found that if one of your pages, so if you copy paste content from another site and paste it on your site, and it flags one page, it's typically very picky with the rest of your pages on your site. So Copyscape to start is free, but you probably will need to buy some credits from them to scan your entire website. What I would recommend is scan your whole website, make sure you're clear of plagiarized content. If you have one majorly flagged page, fix that one up first and then do another scan, and then typically you'll see that it stops flagging your content. We saw this with a case with one client who had one page of highly plagiarized content, but then they also had inner pages being flagged for commonly spoken sayings and stuff like that. If you want to make sure that's not flagged, fix your big issue, and then typically the small issues won't get flagged. You will get penalized if you steal content. Google has stated that if you do have pages with plagiarized content, especially your homepage, you're not going to rank well. It's typically going to lower the rankings for the specific page that has plagiarized content, but what I have seen is the whole website typically gets held back, or you'll see a plateau in your rankings and you'll kind of hit a roadblock in that you can't raise them any higher. So that's plagiarized content. SiteLiner, this checks for internal duplicate content. So this checks how many times you've copy pasted this paragraph on every page of your website. This is a really big issue that we see, that people either have thin websites or they've copy pasted the same paragraph across their entire website. So Copyscape breaks down the content in 3 categories: duplicate, common, and unique. So duplicate is exactly like it sounds. It's the same as other content on your site. Unique content, again, exactly like it sounds. It's unique, and it's not copied from anywhere. Common content is a hard one. It can vary by what it's referring to, but what we see is typically it's referring to stuff that appears on every page, like your header, your menu, your footer. And if you have a high volume of common content, typically what that means is that your site is overall thin. That there's not a lot of content on each of the pages. You need to expand your pages a little bit more because it's not picking up enough unique content to suppress the common content. Hopefully that makes sense. SiteLiner is a really good scan to do. It's free. You can only scan your site once every 30 days, I believe, but it's a really good starting point to see where you need to expand, what maybe one of your coworkers copy pasted something across the site and you didn't know. Again, this is the space to check all of that. So what to write about for blogs? Blogs, again, are another really, they're a big piece to the SEO puzzle and typically get missed a lot, mainly because companies don't know how that integrates or fits in with their business model or how it can fit in with an SEO campaign. So from an SEO perspective, we've talked a lot about content already in this presentation, where I've said how important it is. Again, this is blogs add fresh content to your site. What this also does is adds new stuff to your website, which encourages Google bots to continue to crawl your site. So when you're doing an active SEO campaign or you're upping your SEO efforts, adding blogs on your site is going to encourage the crawl bots to return to your site and then reward you for your hard work. Again, the more blogs you have, the better it's going to be. But again, also need to keep in mind that your blogs need to add value to users. So when you're figuring out what you should write about, because you want to write blogs because you know it's good for SEO, I would typically think, what are the most commonly asked questions in your industry? What are questions that people come to you always asking? Or what solution, or what is the solution that your product or service solves for users? If you have let's say you sell wipes for someone's computer screens, you can write blogs catered around the solution that you offer. So when you're at the office, your monitor gets this much dust on it, and if you use this wipe, it'll help. One thing missed as well is embedding products in your blog posts. So when you're done writing a blog, if you've talked about one of your products, make sure you embed it. So Shopify does have the buy button feature that you can just embed products directly in your content, and that helps users convert directly on the page. If you think about it from a user's perspective, they're reading a blog post that talks about a problem that they're having. You've posed your product as the solution, and then you put your product right on the post for them to buy right there. It's really playing on your consumers' instincts and their quick will to buy. And again, when you're writing blogs, you're really targeting long-tail keywords. So long-tail keywords are phrases and sentences that are commonly searched in search engines. Those are typically easier to rank for over shorter content. So ranking for the word t-shirt is going to be harder than ranking for how do I clear the stain out of my t-shirt. By writing blogs, it's an opportunity for you to rank for something that still gets a lot of search volume but isn't as competitive. Especially in the e-commerce business, when you're selling products, you're competing against spots like Amazon, eBay, all these big stores that are online that have a very strong presence. It's going to be hard to gain traction for those competitive terms. Writing blogs and targeting longer tail keywords is going to be your way in. So blogs are super important. Next up, I'm going to talk about some of the tools that we use here, or that I use personally, just come up with topics. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So when you're trying to find writing ideas, it's important to make sure you're using your time wisely. I'm sure you all as business owners have 3,000 things going on, and writing a blog is not something that you want to be doing. So make sure you're writing something that people want to look for. So you can look on Google Trends, check keywords, and see how much they're trending. You can also see related queries and related topics, and you can break down Google Trends to show you international search volume, national search volume, and where the most interest is. So for here, I searched matcha, and I broke it down to show me Canada. So let's say I'm selling matcha in Canada and need some ideas on what to write about. This is where I can see a breakdown. So from here, I can see that British Columbia is getting the most interest on matcha. So what that tells me in Ottawa, Ontario, that I should probably publish my blog based around BC time. So if I know I get a lot of readers around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll make sure I publish my blog around the British Columbia time because there's a ton of interest in my product there. You can also take a look at the related topics, which will then help you create more ideas for your future blog topics, and then related queries. Again, these are all spots where you can look to leverage ideas to see what people are searching for and what questions you need to answer. Another source we just started using here is called Quora. So Quora is an online forum where people pretty much just ask questions. So if you're a know-it-all and you want to search around online for somewhere to ask questions, or if you want to answer questions like I do, this is a really good space to do it. So what you can do is search the keyword that you're looking for, look at all the questions that are being asked. Again, this is really going to help you develop solid blog content that people are looking for. And then from there, in terms of leveraging your blog content, you can post your blog as an answer to someone. From an SEO perspective, again, any additional traffic you can get on your website is going to help you. So for you, if you want to be seen as a thought leader and an industry leader, go on Quora and answer people's questions that's relevant to your business. That's typically going to generate traffic on your site, and it also generate leads. So in the perspective of digital marketing, if I go on Quora and answer questions about SEO and Shopify for someone who's maybe in a bigger line of business or has their own store who needs help, eventually they may come to us and say, you know what, we're just going to pass this off to you. So this can be the same for your business. People are asking questions, you can pose your product as a solution, and as I said, it's going to help you write effective blog content. There's a new service we just started using called Storybase. This is a really cool tool. I definitely recommend checking it out, where you type in a keyword and it shows you questions right away. So I searched matcha and I got 245 questions. I also get the search volume for each question. And at the top, if you guys go in and try it out, it'll also show you a demographic breakdown. So if I'm looking to write a blog on matcha, when I did the search in Storybase, I saw that 3/4 of the searches done on matcha are completed by women. So I know that if I want to write a blog, I should cater it to females because that's typically who's going to be searching it. So maybe making a female the top of the post, or emphasizing how matcha can benefit women is also an idea that you can take away from using Storybase. But again, this is a really good question. Like, I don't know what to write about, type in the keyword. Here's 245 blog posts for you to write about. Some other resources for finding writing ideas. So Reddit is a really good one, again, where you're finding what people are talking about. And I found a lot of traffic generation can also be done through Reddit. Again, by going into threads and answering questions and commenting, and again, posing your product as a solution. Even just asking people their thoughts is a way to drive traffic to your site. And any traffic you can get driven to your site that's going to click around, may not even necessarily convert, but anything that's going to search around your site is going to help you. SEMrush, an amazing tool. If you guys want to pay for, if you're really into this SEO stuff and you want to pay, SEMrush is a great tool. You can also enable tracking, so you can track your progress, your SEO progress in SEMrush. Social media is a very untapped resource. So I'm sure some of you in the webinar today saw us post about the webinar in in groups on Facebook. Again, this is a really great way of driving traffic to your site, but then you can also check the groups and see what common questions there are. So if you're running a local business, if I'm running a business in Ottawa and I want to know what the common questions are, look at big authoritative groups like the Ladies Who Lunch, any space where someone's going to be asking questions to others for answers. That's where you can find what you need to write about. And Ubersuggest is a cool, another cool tool to try out. Again, you type in the keyword, it'll give you suggestions and expand on questions that have been asked. Website speed. So this is one that typically gets lost over time. Only because when you first start your online store, there's not a lot to it. There's going to be a lot of basic stuff on your site, but as you expand your business and your site and your store, you're going to be adding more elements. You're going to be adding additional tracking. Maybe you're running Facebook ads. You're going to be adding apps to your site. You're going to be adding more images, more products. This is all going to bog down the speed of your site. Now, being realistic, Shopify stores are going to be slower than the average, local business on WordPress, for example. You have a lot of stuff to load when people load your homepage, but it's really important that it loads in a fast manner. Even though you think, you know what, people are going to load my homepage, it's no problem, they'll blame their internet and then they'll move on. They're not going to be encouraged to click around your website. So if someone loads your homepage and finally when it gets loaded, they just look and they bounce, it's not good for you. So you need to place a lot of emphasis on making sure your website speed is as fast as possible. So here's some resources you can use to check the speed of your website. Google PageSpeed Insights is a free scan you can do. It's directly from Google. It's going to give you a score. It's going to give you some suggestions as well on how you can speed up your website. So that's directly from Google. GTmetrix is one that I really like to use. So the scan I did below here was for the Turbo theme, which is a really fast Shopify theme that we really enjoy using. It's made by Out of the Sandbox. So looking at these metrics, the PageSpeed score, which is the score given by Google, is a B, which is 88%, which is pretty good. Fully loaded on the homepage, and there's a ton of elements that load on the development site, is 3.9 seconds. The total page size is 1.56 megabytes, which is a pretty good size. We typically want to see it around 1 megabyte. But again, being realistic with the fact that you're running an online store and there's a ton of elements to load, that's pretty good. The request is what really impressed me. 80 requests is really good. For any website, we want to see requests at 100 or less, so having this theme load at 80 requests is great. The request is pretty much how much stuff is going to need to load. The page size is how big everything is, so your images, files that need to get loaded, JavaScript and all that good stuff. What's the size of all those files? As a rule of thumb, your fully loaded time in a perfect world is going to be around 2 seconds, if not less. Being realistic that you have an online store, If you're loading your site in 5 seconds or less, for me personally, I'm a happy camper. My boss would say differently. He's probably going to want it loaded in about 2 seconds, but if your site's loading in 5 or less, I'm a very happy camper. User experience. So I've been talking a ton about it, and I'm sure you guys watching this are like, stop, Lindsay, stop talking about it. If you think about users from the beginning of their problem, so a user has a problem, they go into Google, they search. From the time they type in their search query into the box, they start looking for an answer or a solution. If the #1 site that they click on doesn't solve their problem and they bounce back to the search results, that's a negative ranking signal for that first result. The second result, same thing. If you're ranking number 3 or 4 or 5, but your site fulfills the need of the user, they convert on your site, they click around, they read your content, they spend 5-10 minutes on your site, and then they buy your product, that's a very positive ranking signal, and it's going to help your site in the long run. Granted, having one user convert on your site and say, oh my goodness, I was scouring the web and I finally found you, one person's not going to solve your SEO issues. It's going to have to be a general change that happens. So again, it's a long-term process to make sure users are converting and interacting well with your website. But the most relevant and the best used website is going to rank #1. This is where Google is shifting its focus. The site that is fulfilling users' needs is going to be the one that ranks #1. So in terms of testing user experience, you can obviously use your website and think like a user, interact with your site as your target demographic. So I'm targeting men ages 30 to 40. Think of your website from that perspective, or get people from your target demographic to go on your website. You can also use resources like Crazy Egg. Lucky Orange is an app that you can use in your Shopify store, or Hotjar to see what users are doing on your site. So on the right-hand side here, we have a heat map where we could see what users were clicking when they were on people's sites. So from here, we could see that people were clicking the Shop Now button, they were clicking the products, but they were also clicking on the contact. From there, we can make decisions, maybe add additional tracking on the inner pages would be a good next step to then see how they're interacting with the inner pages on your site. If you don't want to do user tracking, or it's not in the budget right now, that's no problem. But you can check your metrics like bounce rate, time on page, and conversion rate in Google Analytics. So bounce rate is when people go to your site. If they leave your site right away, that counts as a bounce. Again, a bounce is when someone goes to your site, doesn't visit any additional pages, and leaves. Time on page is also something that's going to affect your rankings. How long are people spending on the page? Are they going there for 2 seconds? Are they going there for 5 minutes and then bouncing? Again, if someone's spending longer on your site, interacting with it, but not clicking to an inner page, it's a better ranking signal than someone being on your site for 2 seconds and bouncing. And then conversion rate. Again, your site needs to be catered to people converting. So if you have to add a contact form or some sort of micro conversion before someone can make a big macro conversion or a purchase, that's also a way to have an effective SEO campaign. Backlinks. So a backlink is anytime someone links to your website from another source. This used to be a popular practice of people buying thousands of links for their website, and then Google caught on and made an update. So now you can't do that. It's going to penalize your site. Popular resources to get backlinks, doing online citations, like making sure you have a Yelp profile, Foursquare, Google My Business, you name it, any online citation will help build up authority for your site. Creating and sharing valuable content is also a really effective way to build up your site authority and also show that you're credible. So if you have a cool infographic, feel free to share it with industry leaders. Maybe they'll share it on their site. Again, it's a backlink for you. Setting up partner programs or sponsorships, also a way to get backlinks. We use a popular resource here. It's called Help a Reporter Out. And what that source does is that it connects you with reporters looking for answers to questions. So if someone wants to get a quote on, what's the future of SEO, they'll send out a query. We'll get an email here at seoplus, and we'll answer and say, oh, our SEO specialist said this. If they publish it, that's a backlink for you. The way backlinks and outreach is going is in the direction of PR. Having your site published organically. So if you want to do backlink strategy, consider sending your product to someone or popular bloggers to review, or sponsor an event, get yourself in the news. It's all very organic. The less fake backlinks you have, the better. You can also check your backlink profile in online sources like Majestic and Ahrefs. We use Majestic here. Again, you can just check how, what does your backlink profile consist of, and how authoritative is your website overall. We'll talk about RankBrain. So what is RankBrain? So this is Google's new artificial intelligence, and it helps process search results. So when it's artificial intelligence, it means it's self-teaching. So there's no one there teaching RankBrain more info. It's its own intelligent being. It's learning. It's constantly changing. It's developing as searches continue. Google has stated it's the third most important ranking signal now, behind backlinks and users and content. And this helps users find results without the user having to type in the exact keywords in the results. So this is really the turning point of when keywords kind of died, when you didn't need to have keywords overpopulated on your site to rank. So if I'm searching, what is the name of Walter White's wife? I don't know what it is, but when I search it, I get Skylar. Now, Wikipedia, though a thought leader, did not need to include, didn't need to over-include Skylar's name on the site to appear, because I didn't even search that. So again, what does this mean for you as a business is that you need to answer users' questions on your site. Other notes and tips and tricks, and for you guys who are furiously writing away, we're coming close to the end here. Some other tips and tricks that I have: use dashes in your URLs, not underscores. The main reason behind that is that dashes are read as spaces, underscores are not. So when a bot is scanning something, if you have underscores written in that, it's read as all one word by bots. If you have dashes, it's going to be read as a space. So that also applies to your file names when you're uploading files. It also applies to your, if you're adding it to, I don't know, an alt tag or something, you need to make sure you use your dashes, not underscores. Another point is that important pages and collections need to be linked in your main menu. So your main menu is an authoritative space. Your home page is the king that dominates your SEO campaign. That is where the authority is given. From there, you pass on authority from your home page to other pages on your site. So you need to make sure that you have your important collections and pages linked in the main menu. If a page is linked in your main menu or in some sort of footer menu, then that is past authority. It tells Google, these are important pages. These are the top pages that I want to rank. If you have a page or a collection on your site that is linked nowhere, Google may not even be able to find it. And it's not going to be given the same authority as your About Us page, which is the first linked item in your main menu. So again, even though you may not want a large menu on your site, it is important for SEO, especially to get those collection pages ranking. Make sure you include them all in your main menu, and if you can't include them there, maybe add a footer menu or add some links on your home page to important pages or resources, because again, your home page is given all the authority, and then you need to connect inner pages to the home page somehow for it to be granted the same authority, or at least some of the authority. Use Google Search Console. If you guys don't know what that is, you need to get it hooked up to your site. This is the space where Google's going to tell you if you have a manual penalty. Google will manually review your website and give penalties. It's happened to me before, and it's not going to stop. So make sure you have Search Console so that you can get contacted if this is the case for your site. This will also tell you if what keywords are getting the most exposure in the search results, and this is also a space where you can check your positions. It only tracks data from the past 90 days, but it's an important space to make sure that your site is performing well, and it also shows you what keywords are getting the most exposure. If you sell a variety of products or services, in here you can see which is going to be the most important. Like, I need to switch my emphasis to, or my focus to this. Next up, all your content needs to be original. I think I've expressed that enough. Hopefully my content team is proud of me after this for expressing that. You need to write 400 to 500 words, if not more, for your site to perform well. In a study done by, I think it was SEMrush or Moz, they took a look at the length of content on people's websites, and there's definitely a correlation between having longer content and better rankings. Again, you need to add value. Don't make your content garbage. Consider transcribing videos or adding, some sort of video on your site and then transcribing it below. Again, writing original content is going to add value and help your site perform better. And then one thing that's more of a technical item, but make sure you have one H1 on your site or on your page, per page on your site. So the H1 is kind of like the title. If you're writing a report, you only have one title for your report. In the report, you'll have subheaders, and those in coding language are H2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, but you only have one title. And your title is going to declare what the entire paper is about. For SEO and for your website, the H1 declares what the page is about. This is the space where you can insert a keyword, express what your page is going to be about, and tell Google, this is the keyword, this is the page, this is what we're talking about here. What it boils down to at the end of the day is thinking like searchers. So you need to make sure that when you're looking at your site, you're fulfilling the needs of searchers. I think I've said this a few times now. Make sure you're helping the searchers fulfill their queries when they're searching. How you can measure success. So if you want to be able to tell if the SEO is working, you can use popular services like SEMrush, Agency Analytics, Moz, SEO Power Suite. These are more advanced ways of being able to track your keywords and progress. From there as well, you can use Google Search Console. As I mentioned earlier, you can track your positioning, how much exposure you're getting, how many clicks you're getting, what your click-through rate is, and then Google Analytics. And again, this is the monster here. Google Analytics can show you month over month if your organic search traffic is growing. And that's where you really want to see if your efforts are paying dividends. When you go in Google Analytics, you can check directly where people are coming from in the channels, and then you can see your organic search traffic. Now stretch that out over a long period of time to see overall trends. Is the traffic converting when it's on your site? You can also check that data in your e-commerce tracking, and Shopify will also show you that as well. SEO is a long-term game. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that's going to even happen in a month. You need to check it month over month. In a 3-month campaign, in a 6-month campaign, how much have you grown your organic search traffic, and is that organic search traffic converting? Here's an example of Google Analytics with a raising organic search traffic. So this site pre-optimization was getting a little under 1,000 visits from organic search traffic. Again, we originally added page titles and meta descriptions and added fresh content, made user experience changes, and again, we continued to make tweaks over time, adding more content to the site, expanding on blogs, continually making tweaks to the site to make sure it's catering towards conversions, and you see that upward trend. It's not something that's going to be a crazy jump, but we know from the beginning when we first started doing work how much growth has occurred. And we made it to the end. We made it. I apologize if it was like very fast for some of you. I have 2 minutes to spare, which I think is fabulous for how much content has been packed in this. So we'll get into the Q&A now. There's my email there. If something I said in this webinar did not make sense and I don't answer your question now, feel free to shoot me an email. Connect with me on LinkedIn, follow me on Twitter, whatever. I'm happy to help out wherever is needed. So I'm just going to pass this back.
Let me know. It's good.
Yeah. So.
All right, I'm back. I hope everyone learned a lot there from Lindsay. I listened in. It was great. Good work, Lindsay. In conclusion, we have a few things to go over. We received a ton of comments. Brock, the owner of SEO Plus, was trying his hardest to respond to everyone. If we didn't respond to you yet, we will probably later today. But we did get a lot of really good questions. We said we would give away a free 1-hour consultation with Lindsay. which we're going to do. So we decided there were a couple people who were really engaged, so we decided we'd give away 2 1-hour consultations with Lindsay, and we'll follow up with the winners this afternoon. And the winners are Leah Ingram and Anu Balia. So thank you both for your great questions. We don't want to leave everyone else out though, so we are going to follow up with everyone. We'll send you a copy of the webinar and also an ebook that our team spent hours on creating that summarizes a lot of the things Lindsay already went over. So you'll basically have like an action guide to help implement everything. But we also want to offer an AdWords audit. So this is for anyone who's on this call, who's listening on this webinar. If you have a Google AdWords campaign, we'll complete an audit for free. So there will be no charge to you. Basically, our pay-per-click specialist, Stephanie, will review your campaign. She'll audit it with some software that we have, and then she'll create a 5 to 10 page report with really good tips on how to improve your ads, how to improve your landing page, keywords that you should add, really valuable stuff. So if you want the free pay-per-click audit, yeah, you do have to have a Google AdWords account. Even if the Google AdWords account is not live, it's an old account that you haven't used because it wasn't performing. If you have a Google AdWords account, we can do the PPC audit. All you have to do is send an email to info@seoplus.ca, and in the subject line have PPC audit, and we'll follow up and do a free audit for you. Again, that's info@seoplus.ca. And we'll do a free audit for you. So that's it. We do have a couple questions. Unfortunately, there were several, probably close to 100 questions, so we're not going to answer all those now. But we do have a few, so we'll play Stump Lindsay. So I will pass the headset to Lindsay after, and she'll go over these questions. And before I leave, just one more thing. Again, we'll send everyone a recording, the ebook, and if you need help with SEO, if you have any questions, we're really friendly here. We don't pressure people with sales. We're happy to help, give you advice. If we end up working together, great. But if not, we really do want to help. So feel free to call us at 866-980-7587. Or email us your questions, anything to info@seoplus.ca. So that's it. These 3 questions that we picked, I'm going to pass over to Lindsay. If we didn't answer your question on the webinar, we will do that very soon. Thank you.
Merci. All right, so congrats to the winners. I'm very excited to chat with you guys in future. Again, my email's on the last slide here, so feel free to take a look. Feel free to email me, connect on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. So a few questions here. Derek left me with a piece of paper. So what are your favorite Shopify apps? I love Convergio. Or Receiptful. It's a good way of sending follow-up emails to your clients post-sale, and you can also follow up with them. As they say, your best customer is a returning customer, not necessarily a new one. So I love Convergio. I also love using Supple Apps has a good one called Buy X Get Y, or Buy One Get One. That's a really good app to run sales if you want to add value to your users. And I always connect online stores with some sort of newsletter software. I really like MailChimp for that. You can add pop-ups to your store using MailChimp. So you can integrate MailChimp directly into your store, get emails from there, past customers, and then you can send out newsletters. So those are some of my favorite ones. Should my brand name be in every title tag? It's a good question. It depends. I've seen a lot of brands that have really long-winded title tag or long business names, and it's really tough to insert it into every title tag. I definitely recommend having it on your homepage. If you can't have it in other title tags, then you can take it out. You can also use abbreviations of your business name to get it to fit in. But if your business name is too long, you can also consider only targeting one keyword per page. But you don't necessarily need to have your business name in every title tag. As a common practice, we like to do it, but again, it has happened where the business name is too long, and we either abbreviate it or cut it out in order to make space for the keywords. Is Bing important? Does it follow the same algorithm? Bing is very important if your main target is an older demographic who has Windows computers that their grandchildren set up for them and they don't know how to change their default search. When we're doing SEO, we typically don't really, we look at Bing, but we don't really look at Bing. It does follow similar algorithms. It does have its own artificial intelligence learning software in it. If you're following the Google algorithm, you'll typically perform well in Bing. In a lot of cases, we've seen Bing perform or respond better to SEO than Google. So typically the two will correlate if they're both going in the same direction, but it is possible that sometimes you'll drop off some rankings in Bing versus Google. But yes, the algorithm is very similar. It's not as advanced, but it does have its own artificial learning. I forget what it's called, but it has its own artificial learning that it uses as well. So those are the 3 questions. As I said, if I didn't answer your questions today, feel free to shoot me an email, connect on LinkedIn. I'm really thankful for you guys that came out today, and for all of you guys recording or that watching the recording. Thanks for watching, and I hope to be in touch with all of you very soon. Take care.